Hello my friends, this is Sylvie Curry, Lady of Q, and once again I am in my kitchen. Today I'm going to be cooking corned beef and cabbage. Yeah, it's St. Patty's Day and I felt the obligation of cooking this. Once a year is all I do usually. One of the things that I wanted to bring to your attention is that obviously I'm not Irish. The closest I come to Irish is probably my last name, Curry, and I married into that. So, anyway, I can still cook this meat. So we're going to cook it today. I'm putting it on early because it's going to take a few hours to cook. And we'll come back and show you how we're progressing along the way. Here are my ingredients for my corned beef and cabbage. I have my 3-pound corned beef, and it's already been cured. I've got potatoes, and I'm using red potatoes. I've got carrots, garlic, shallots, onions, and my cabbage. I'm going to initially cook the corned beef, cover it in some water until it gets nearly tender, and that's about maybe 3-4 hours from now. And then I'll be adding in the rest of the vegetables during the last half hour of the cook. I'd like to bring a couple of things to your attention regarding the corned beef. This corned beef has a flat, which is almost a 2-inch flat, so it's fairly thick. When you select your corned beef, you want to go for a piece that does have a pretty thick flat and has a minimal amount of fat. In addition, corned beef is a brisket that has been processed and cured. It has the same properties of a brisket, obviously. A brisket has a muscle that is called the flat, and that would be this section. And bring that closer. That focuses in. You can see the grains going across that way. And then you have the point section, and you have the grains going that way. And it does have a little fat coming down through there, but it's a very thin piece. So that means it's at the lower part of the brisket before it gets to that real thick fat part where between the flat and the point of a brisket. There's a flavor pack that comes with the corned beef, and that should be cooked in the pot with the meat. In addition, the manufacturer suggests that you get a lot of the juices that are inside this pack and do put them in your pot when you're cooking it. And you're going to add water to cover and just wait until it does its thing. It does what it does, and it's done when it's done. I'm going to take the corned beef out of its package. And one of the things that I want you to note is that there's one side that has a fat cap, and you're going to put that down in the pot, and you're going to leave the meaty section up. The flavor pack part, you can try to rub it over the corned beef. And then I'm going to take my package, as suggested by the manufacturer, that you try to get all those juices that are in there out so that they can go into the pot with the corned beef. Then I've got water here, and I'm going to just put enough in to cover. And this was 8 cups, and it looks like it's taking all 8 cups of that water. I'm going to put this on medium heat, and I'm going to let it get to a point where it's almost about to boil. As the manufacturer suggests, you want to bring your water to a boil and reduce the heat to a simmer and cook this to a temperature of about 180 degrees, and that they suggest that is about 90 minutes per pound. The 180 degrees is the temperature of the corned beef that you're going to reach. I'm going to add my onion and my garlic. The cabbage is going to be sliced into 4 sections, so we'll just go straight through it. And it's got a core here, and I'm going to leave that core in just so that the cabbage will stay in this section as it cooks. If I cut the core out, then it's going to separate all over. We are 1 hour in. We are now 2.5 hours into this cook. I just temperature probed the meat and it's at 189. Now I know that I mentioned to you earlier that the manufacturer suggested you cook it to 180. But I know that in cooking brisket, 180 will not make it tender. In probing this, it was still very, very tight. So I know it needs to be pushed up to temperatures closer to maybe 195. So we'll come back and test it in another maybe half hour, 45 minutes, and see where we are. My corned beef is nearly there. Temperature on it's about 197. Still has a little bit of resistance, but I think we're good to go to put the veggies in. So I'm going to first start off with my potatoes, my red potatoes. I'll put these shallots in. Carrots. And my last piece of onion. Try to get that in there. And this is going to cook for probably another half hour, 45 minutes, depending on how long it takes to get the potatoes tender. And when we get close to that point, I'll add the cabbage. Our corned beef is tender. The potatoes are tender, the carrots are tender. Now I'll put in the cabbage and let that cook. It doesn't take very long for it, so that's why we hold off till the end of the cook to put it in. I removed all the vegetables from the corned beef and I strained off a lot of the onion that got really softened. Now it's time to input my cabbage. And I could have left the vegetables in there, but with them in there I wouldn't have room to get all my cabbage in. So I'm going to add it. And it's not going to take very long at all for this cabbage to cook. Got one little piece trying to get away. Come on, babes. I've got my cabbage in the pot. I'm just going to wait for it to come up to temp again and boil, and it's going to steam that cabbage. I'll put my top back on so that it accelerates that process. And we'll be back in a few minutes to plate and serve corned beef and cabbage with carrots and potatoes. Here's my corned beef. Get ready to make the slices in it. And noting that the grain is going in this direction for this section, the flat, and this direction over here where there's a point. Slice is very nice. Tender. Let me show you what we've got. Get that to focus. corned beef. Do a few more slices. We've got the corned beef sliced up, some very nice slices, nice and tender. Corned beef, cabbage, carrots, and potatoes. Thank you for watching. I invite you to please subscribe, comment, like, tell a friend. This is Sylvie Curry, Lady of Q, with St. Patty's Day corned beef and cabbage, potatoes and carrots.